Greetings and welcome once again to Tom's Hit Parade. I've got a couple of new and recent albums to talk about today. What's that you say? 2 album review videos in less than a week? Well, yeah. Just don't get used to it. It just so happens that there's been a minor flurry of new releases and recent albums that I've come into possession of that I've wanted to talk about lately. So, like last week's video, there will be 2 albums I'm talking about today. And also, like last week's video, one of them is very well known and has made the rounds on YouTube and whatnot, and the other one is one that very few people may know about. So why don't we just get right into it? First off, the less known album for a change, as opposed to last week's video. First one I'm talking about today is Islands, the 7th release by Irish rock band Ash. Now, they have a bit of a Britpop sound to them. Think Oasis, Blur, possibly Star Sailor, something like that. Just don't confuse them with Brits, because from what I hear, the Irish don't like that. So, now I first discovered Ash thanks to a stack of probably a dozen still sealed copies of their 2001 album Free All Angels, which were on sale at a local store, which is long since closed, by the way, for $1.99. Yeah, still sealed copies, $1.99. So I figured, what the heck, why not give it a try? And this album was absolutely packed with good songs. Burn Baby Burn, Candy, Sometimes, There's a Star, and probably the best song on here was called Shining Light, which you might know from a single by Annie Lennox. She covered it for her Greatest Hits album collection. But yeah, this was just absolutely a great album. Go seek it out if you haven't heard it yet. Now, I've picked up a couple of their other albums over the years. I basically ignored them until their 6th album, Kablamo, great album title and great cover, by the way, obviously, came out in 2015, and I found that at a store for $6. I picked it up and I liked it, and I also liked their 4th album, Meltdown. But, you know, honestly, nothing of theirs has really caught my ear and won me over quite like Free All Angels did. But I saw it, I think I was aware that this was out earlier this year. It came out in May, but I probably just forgot about it until I was strolling the aisles up in Portland last month. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up. It was, what, $11.99, I think? Now, this is a good album, but it's not a great album. And the aggravating thing about it is that it takes until its midpoint for me to really get into it. Track 7 out of 12 tracks, Somersault, it's the first really upbeat song that feels like a fairly solid rock song. But the song right after it, Did Your Love Burn Out, is a fantastic power ballad. It starts out with just his voice and electric guitar, but it eventually builds into a full band song, and it is just stellar. I mean, it's just fantastic. And Silver Suit and Is It True are a couple of other really good songs on the second half of this album. Just great, well-written songs. Now, that's not to say that the first half of the album sucks. Confessions by the Pool is a good song, though, although the lyrics kind of struck me as being a little weird. I don't know, it's probably just me, but, you know, listen to it and tell me what you think. And Annabelle is another really good song. So, yeah, the first half of the album is okay, but the second half is much better. Now, probably my least favorite track on this album is, ironically, the song that they chose as the album's first single. It's called Buzzkill. And, I mean, the tune is catchy enough, but it's really kind of unimaginative, to be honest. But the lyrics... Now, I'm not a prude by any means. I mean, I don't mind judicious use of the F word, you know, just once in a while in songs, as kind of an accentuation or almost like punctuation. That's kind of the way George Carlin used it. You've heard me talk about George Carlin before. But honestly, I counted 11 times that they used the F word in Buzzkill. And honestly, using it that much is kind of a turnoff. In my opinion, it kind of speaks to the unimaginative nature of the songwriting. That doesn't plague the entire album by any means. I mean, the album is great. It's just that one song is kind of a blemish on the album. Yeah, it's very good. I would suggest checking it out. It's not a great album. I would score it 65 to 70. But again, yeah, do not be afraid to explore Ash's discography, especially starting off with Free All Angels. That is my favorite album of theirs. And, you know, as I said, I own 4 of their albums, so I like the band. But yeah, this was... I'm kind of anxious to see what they come up with next, see if it's any better than Islands. But yeah, 65 to 70 for that album. Okay, but not great. Okay, on to the second album I'll be talking about today. It was one of my most anticipated albums of the year. Could not wait for it to come out, and couldn't wait to talk about it, obviously. It is the sophomore album by Troye Sivan entitled Bloom. Now, you know how much I like Troye, how much I've talked about him on this channel, and honestly, if anything, with this album, my appreciation for him has even deepened. He knows how to write a fantastic pop song, but with subtlety. And that's the thing, is anybody can write a pop song that hits you over the head with hooks and catchy lyrics, but his subtlety is, I think, what sets him apart. Now, I love the upbeat songs, obviously, the singles, My, and the title track, but if anything, I like the quieter moments on this album, possibly even more than the upbeat songs, partially because we only got one or two of those moments on Blue Neighborhood, his debut. Now, some of the songs I like most on this album, as I said, are the songs that start out quietly with just his voice and either the guitar or piano. Postcard is a good example of that, and What a Heavenly Way to Die is another one. And also The Good Side, which is just a gorgeous waltzing kind of a ballad. Because now the quieter moments show off the delicate nuances of his voice, which the electronic and synth flourishes can kind of draw attention away from. And let's face it, I mean, that's what captivated me about Blue Neighborhood so much, was just the aching beauty, as I like to describe it, of his voice. It was just gorgeous. And the beauty, of course, is still there, totally. Although the aching is mostly gone, although that's pretty much the general mood of this album, is, it's a little bit more upbeat. And now, that's not to say that I don't love the upbeat songs too. As I said, My, and Bloom are two of the standouts. And also Plum. Plum is probably one of my favorite songs on this album, without a doubt. And also Lucky Strike, that's another really good one. The references to cigarettes aside, smoking is a bit of a turnoff for me. And that's the one thing that kept me from totally loving Strawberries and Cigarettes, his contribution to the Love, Simon soundtrack. But that's a technicality, I'll admit, just a little nitpick. And another one of the really good songs on this album, you can see here that I got the Target version, the extra track, This. That's a really good song. It's another one of the catchy songs on here. It's worth hearing if you haven't heard it. But yeah, I just absolutely love this album. It met and probably actually exceeded my expectations. Honestly, there's not a song on here that isn't good. Well, very good at the very least. So yeah, fantastic album. And honestly, the quieter moments, as I said, on this album, they make me really want to hear Troye Sivan do an all-acoustic album. And I think he could pull it off completely, totally. So yeah, Troye, if you're watching or listening, think about doing an acoustic album, really. But yeah, this album, I would score this a 90 to 95 easily. One of my favorite albums of the year so far. Fantastic. So yeah, that's it for album reviews for today. Tell me what you thought of these albums. Comments are welcome. And any albums that you think I should hear. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love to have you a subscriber. And again, thank you very, very much for watching. And remember, life's too short to be a music snob.